strong political views. And today, Vince is going to talk about cross-platform. And first, when I heard about cross-platform, I was actually thinking this is crossing political platforms. But then he, made it clear that this is actually about mobile development. So please welcome Vince.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and thank you, Phil Tickness, for being here today. Today I'm going to be giving yet another portion of my cross-platform mobile development talk. I'll be giving the full 75-minute version of it this Saturday at CodeCamp. So if you can make it out to the University of Minnesota on Saturday, then just know that it's free and super awesome. There's a bunch of great talks. So here we go. Today we're going to be talking about Appcelerator. Now, today's agenda, first we're going to recap what cross-platform mobile development is and what Appcelerator really is. Then we're going to show you how to get started with Appcelerator. And we're going to go over kind of the API of Appcelerator, so that how you can use Appcelerator to talk to the different devices, different phones, tablets, things like that. Then we're going to go over the Alloy framework and why it's important in Appcelerator development, and when you should use and should not use Appcelerator. So, recap. What is cross-platform mobile development? Well, that's when you have one code base to distribute to multiple different kinds of devices. So instead of having an Android team building an Android app, and an iOS team building an iPhone app, and a BlackBerry team building a BlackBerry app, and a Windows Phone team building a Windows Phone app, you just build one code base and you try to get that to work on all the different devices. So what is Appcelerator? Appcelerator is an HTML5, CSS3 JavaScript type-based framework, primarily using XML as well in order to build the different cross-platform components. And it kind of allows you to leverage your web developers in cross-platform development instead of having to have people who are trained in Objective-C or people who are trained in Java. So, getting started. The IDE, which is the Integrated Development Environment, which is how you actually write your code, in short, is called Titanium Studio. It is built on top of Appcelerator Studio, which is built on top of Eclipse. So, Eclipse is your typical free Java development environment, and you usually use that for building Android apps if you have an app for. Then Studio is built for more like web development off of Eclipse, and then Titanium is made for cross-platform development, and it's pretty darn simple. So Appcelerator Studio is a kind of upgraded version of Titanium Studio that is not free and includes certain enterprise features, kind of like bug tracking and cool stuff that enterprise situations might want to take a look at. So here's a little rubric of all the different things that are different between Appcelerator Studio, Titanium Studio, and Appcelerator Studio. So for example, if you look here, oddly enough, when you get to these Titanium and Appcelerator, you remove Python, Ruby, Ruby on Rails, PHP support. Well, that's because it's not really important for cross-platform mobile development in this particular platform. But you can go ahead and add it back in if you want. And of course, they both have the Titanium SDK and then the enterprise features to help you get the most out of the development platform for your enterprise. So, in order to get started with Titanium Studio, you go to this particular URL, download it, you create an account so that it will actually save the different apps that you have so that you can easily bring them over to different machines. Alright, so developing in Titanium Studio. Like I said, it's built on Eclipse, but it is quite a bit better. If you've ever used Eclipse, it can kind of be clunky and kind of painful, and this is quite straightforward with something like Visual Studio, for example. But I'm telling you, Titanium Studio is quite a bit sharper and it's a lot easier to work with. It has built-in emulators, so you don't have to go download separate emulators. You have to get, a Ripple for your Chrome or whatever, that kind of thing. And they don't suck at all. They're actually quite nice and they work very well. And I thought this was cool. Real-time updating of your emulator. So as you're coding in your Titanium app, once you hit save, if you're looking at that particular view, for example, it will change right there on the fly. You don't have to reload your emulator. It's going to be lightning fast, real quick. Very nice. So, the Appcelerator API. This is the application program interface, and it will allow you to use JavaScript to go call the native capabilities of your device. You can interact with the camera, you can interact with accelerometer, things like that. Now, I'm showing the ones that most people will be using, because they're actually two different categories of API components. So it's very well built up API system compared to things like PhoneGap, for example. Even though you're using some of the same capabilities and web development as PhoneGap, it's going to be a little bit more fully baked. And so we got the accelerometer, which is basically telling your device how you're moving. So for example, you're holding your phone and you do this, your accelerometer will know what you've done with regards to your X, Y, and Z axes and say, you know what, I think you've gone from portrait mode to landscape mode. How might I want to react to this particular scenario with my particular application? File system, geolocation, where you are, things like that. Gesture, did I shake the phone, that kind of thing. And now media, a lot of these are pretty small. Accelerometer only has, I think, one method. It's telling you to move, that kind of thing. But with me, I think there's 113 properties, 46 methods. So, I mean, look at your audio, video, camera, mic, pretty diverse. Network, whether or not you're connected, if you've lost network connectivity, if you move from Wi-Fi over to your 4G service, that sort of thing. Now, the platform, what is your machine capable of doing and what is it made of? UI is another giant one. So the UI is the part of the titanium platform that allows you to add components like a label or a view, something that you actually see on the screen that is compiled separately into different components. So for example, if you put a label onto your view, how is that going to render in iOS? How is that going to render in Android? You just put one label, and it will render it'll compile to something that looks and feels like a native iOS or a native Android component because it is. So it's a true native component with one code base. The Alloy framework. It's basically MVC for titanium. Appcelerator is pushing this really hard, and I kind of have to say that I really agree with it. So instead of having this giant, if you use a web developer, sometimes they'll just have like the JavaScript file, which is like 5,000 lines long, giant spaghetti code of cluster nastiness. So instead, if you want to do something like using MVC, an MVC type framework, it's actually based off of Backbone. So if you want Backbone, get hop right into Alloy, get going. It allows for separation of concerns. So in spaghetti, you have the spaghetti code that doesn't make any sense. If you change one thing, a whole bunch of things over here could break. So definitely the way to build an enterprise application instead of some sort of mom and pop to the app that you took an afternoon to build. Easier to scale, maintain, and test something that is built out with a nice framework like Alloy. So if you're going to do any kind of real enterprise development of some sort of serious application, I definitely would say look at the Alloy framework. So when should I use titanium? If your team is or can be strong with web development, you already got a bunch of HTML guys, you already got a bunch of JavaScript guys, this is something you should at least consider. If you're familiar with Eclipse, if you got a bunch of Java guys on your team instead of maybe .NET guys, maybe if you're .NET guys, you might want to do Xamarin, but if you're Java guys, you already know Eclipse, you already have good web developers, maybe you should take a look at titanium. PhoneGap maybe won't do, it's kind of the same sort of technologies using. So maybe your app is a little bit too complicated, or there's enough device support, or you need a high-quality app with a native look and feel instead of just something that happens to run like PhoneGap. You have enough money in your pocketbook to go ahead and buy Appcelerator Studio and put a little bit more money into doing something really right and enterprisey, but you don't have quite enough money to have 5+ separate teams doing the exact same thing. So, conclusion. Appcelerator is an established framework. It's been around for a few years, so it's been getting better and better, and there's a big community behind it. It can provide native look and feel with actual native components. You can reuse the vast majority of your code, and it will help you get the exact same front-end view code to be compiled onto all these different devices. And it's a good fit for web developers and inclusive. With that, I'll turn it back over to our host.
I'll be honest with you, I learned a lot of new words. Some of those words I'm not even sure how to pronounce. Appcelerator, accelerometer. I'm not sure about you guys. How many, just out of curiosity, if we do the vote, how many people use cross-platform development?